Hi guys, I'm a little late on this one. Um, Life just tends to get in the way sometimes. So my reflection on Chapter 9, The Universe Next Door, one part that was really kind of interesting was the discussion of Islam as a worldview. What interested me was how Islam is not presented as just a private religion, but as a complete way of understanding God, humanity, morality, community, and daily life. Something that really caught my attention was the strong emphasis on the oneness and sovereignty of God. In Islam, God is above creation, and human beings are called to submit to God's will. That made me think about how a person's view of God shapes everything else, how they understand discipline, obedience, and forgiveness and purpose. It's one thing that really popped in my mind as well was, you know, the Nation of Islam, because many people try to put it down without really understanding where it came from or why it appealed to people. And I know the Nation of Islam is not the same thing as traditional Islam, but I became curious because, figures like, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X. Um, I watched videos of Elijah Muhammad because I wanted to understand his worldview, understand some of his teachings, and the conflict that really developed between he and Malcolm X. What was also interesting for many Black Americans, the Nation of Islam was not only about religion; it was about identity, discipline, racial pride, self-respect, and survival. In a country where Black people had experienced slavery and segregation and social rejection and racism, and I can understand why many were really attracted to that. One thing I found is the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It explains that Malcolm X was introduced to Islam and the Nation of Islam while in prison, and that gave him order and discipline and a framework for understanding racial injustice. It helped me see why the movement had such a powerful impact on him and millions of others. At the same time, Malcolm X's life also shows how a worldview can change. He became one of the most important voices in the Nation of Islam, but later his views changed again, especially after his pilgrimage to Mecca, where he developed a more inclusive understanding of race and humanity. And because it shows that people are not frozen in one belief system forever. You can be a Baptist one day, you could be Catholic another. I mean, that's the beauty of us having these choices. My own Christian worldview, I still see God as personal, relational, and full of grace. That is one of the biggest differences I notice when comparing Christianity with Islam. In Christianity, does not only command from above, God also comes near through Jesus. For me, grace and forgiveness matter deeply because I know people fail, people struggle, and need restoration. Overall, chapter 9, it really makes me think and think about Islam, but also pushed me to think about related movements like the Nation of Islam and why they mattered in American history. Even when I do not agree with every teaching, I think it's pretty important to understand before judging. For me, that's part of taking worldview studies seriously.